Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the February 17th, 2018 edition of the From the Bench podcast. I'm Mark Janish. Welcome, everyone. You can listen to any and all of the previous podcasts on Libsyn and Stitcher Radio. Libsyn and Stitcher Radio, and also on the website immediately after the podcast is posted at accessmediaglobal.com. Hello, I'm Mark Janish, founder of accessmediaglobal.com. I'm going to bring you some information regarding some NCAA basketball, some NCAA baseball locally, and we're going to go over the collegeinsider.com poll, which is the mid-major poll today. And we're also going to go over last week's rankings as the college football season heads toward March Madness. My understanding is that the NCAA Top 64 will be announced on March 11th. That's a couple of Sundays from now. Looking forward to that. But right now, wanted to give you just some information regarding some programming notes for today. The UC Santa Barbara Gaucho basketball team, 9-2 in the Big West, 20-5 in the overall, and 9-2 in the Big West Conference play. They have overcome a 6-22 poor season under former coach Bob Williams. Joe Pasternak, a disciple and off the staff of Sean Miller at Arizona, has done a great job in turning this team around. Today they play a 2 p.m. game at the Thunderdome on the campus of UC Santa Barbara. The pregame is at 1:45. I have some live audio and game story available for you. Also, the UCSB men's baseball team. They fell 9-1 in their opening game at the versus San Diego State at the San Diego State Tony Gwynn Classic. 9-1 loss. Won't cover them today, but definitely will be in the near future. Today they have their second game at the Tony Gwynn Classic on the campus of San Diego State University. 5:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time will be the pregame. 6 p.m. will be first pitch. I invite you also to enjoy the audio of that game as well. So that's part of the programming updates that I have. The other portion of this programming updates I wanted to give you are these. The baseball season is heating up. Pitchers and catchers have reported. Not only will I be covering the major league clubs, the Seattle Mariners, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the San Diego Padres, and so forth, I'm going to endeavor. I do have a minor league feed page. We cover the Tacoma Rainiers. We'll be covering the Oklahoma City Dodgers AAA team, the Salt Lake Bees, AAA affiliate of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and of course, let's see, it's the Tacoma Rainiers, the Salt Lake Bees, the Tacoma Rainiers, and one other AAA team. Oh, the El Paso Chihuahuas. Sorry about that. That is the San Diego Padres AAA affiliate. I'm going to endeavor to have some live MLB audio starting April the 4th. So you're going to get your full dose of minor league baseball. I've chosen not to cover the single A or high A short season California leagues. There's no point in that, I don't believe. Want to be able to use the resources that I have. We do have some Twitter feeds available for the Tacoma Rainiers, the El Paso Chihuahuas, the OKC Dodgers, and the Salt Lake Bees in the meantime. But April 4th, we're going to get out the gate of the new baseball season, minor league baseball season, with games nightly, links posted so you can enjoy some audio of that. I also do have some podcasts up. The Hot Stove League is heating up for the Seattle Mariners. I have the last two Hot Stove League programs from February 7th and February 14th. That's going to continue throughout spring training. Definitely looking forward to the beginning of the season. I believe it's March 29th that the MLB season has will be commencing. I believe the collective bargaining agreement that just was signed in 2017 allows for more days off and more limited spring training action to help the players. I believe it was 180 days in the season, 26 weeks, of course, but only 18 days off prior to this. So we'll see how the new CBA does affect the MLB players. The MLB players have been complaining regarding what they would term collusion. This has happened before, where free agents are not being signed by majority clubs, and there's apparently a workout that's being scheduled later in the month of February, early March, for those that don't necessarily have jobs. I want to give some acknowledgement to the death of Tito Francona, Terry Francona's dad. I believe Tito Francona was one of the original Oakland A's from when they moved from Kansas City. I believe they started, the A's started in about 1960. I want to say 1963 or 4. I might be off a little bit on my years of that, but definitely wanted to acknowledge that. I do have a full Major League page and a full minor league page with updates as far as that particularly goes. So you're welcome to enjoy spring training using those links, and obviously the Twitter feeds that I've indicated for both major league clubs and minor league clubs as well. I've given you the minor league programming that I'm going to present to you over accessmediaglobal.com. But let's get to the meat of the podcast today. We're going to start off with local UC Santa Barbara. I did mention they're 9-2. They just came off on Thursday an 80-70 win over longtime nemesis, the Long Beach State University, improved themselves to 20-5. But let's look at the top 25. The College Insider men's mid-major poll finds the Gonzaga Bulldogs 23-4. They did a number on St. Mary's last weekend. I was looking for that game to be more exciting and was really excited to see that game, but that wasn't happening. Gonzaga ran away with it. They won by about 20 points. The Gonzaga Bulldogs, out of the WCC, the West Coast Conference, they're 23-4, ranked number 1. New Mexico State, 22-3 at the time. Doesn't include this week's action. They're out of the WAC Conference. The St. Mary's Gales, going to give Gonzaga a problem during the end of the post-game tournaments. I expect both these teams to make the tournament, be seeded. How high is going to be determined by how they perform in the conference tournament. But St. Mary's got a first-place vote. They were 24-3 as of last week. That doesn't include this week's action, of course. East Tennessee State University is at number 4. They're 22-4 out of the Southern Conference. South Dakota at number 6, and South Dakota State at number 7. So the state of South Dakota, well represented in the mid-major collegeinsider.com poll. At number 8, we have Loyola of Chicago, 21-5 out of the Missouri Valley Conference. Vermont, the Catamounts of Vermont, 21-5 out of the American East. I'm not going to say they're going to make the tournament, but they've been around the tournament for the last several years. Number 10, Charleston, 20-6 out of the Colonial Conference. And, of course, UC Santa Barbara, which I did mention. I will have the audio available for the basketball game this afternoon. 1:45 pregame, 2 p.m. Pacific first pitch. First tip. Don't want to mix my sports up. 19-5. They are actually 20-5 now. I would expect them to advance into the top 10 based on their performance this afternoon. Montana at number 12. They're also 20-5. BYU, the Cougars, 20-7 out of the West Coast Conference. You see the West Coast Conference well represented. Then we have Buffalo being represented at 18-7. Murray State, the Racers of Murray State, 20-5. Not sure how they did this week. And then, of course, their compatriots in the Ohio Valley Conference, the Belmont Bruins, have made the tournament the last several years. 20-7 going into this week. They're at number 16. Number 17, UNC Greensboro. Then, of course, at 18, we have Georgia State. 19 shows Northern Kentucky out of the Horizon Conference. Out of the Southwest Conference, Southland Conference, excuse me, a team that we always see during the tournament time, Stephen F. Austin. Out of the Southland Conference, out of the Mid-American Conference, the Toledo Mud Hens, 18-7. They were not ranked last week. They have risen to number 21. Then, of course, the Darlings a few years ago under Andy Enfield before he migrated and left for USC. Florida Gulf Coast University, 20-8 out of the Atlantic Sun Conference. They were ranked number 25 last week. They're at number 22. Then, of course, at number 23, we have Bucknell. Bucknell was at number 19 out of the Patriot League, and they're at number 23 this week. They've slipped 4 notches. UNC Asheville was not ranked out of the Big South Conference. They're 18-9 going into this week. They are at number 24. At number 25, we do have Pennsylvania, 17-7 out of the Ivy League. So that takes care of the mid-major collegeinsider.com poll for last week. Wanted to also just turn my attention to the AP coaches poll. Now, we're going to see some redundancy here, but I do definitely believe that Purdue and Michigan State University are going to be well represented. Not sure whether they're going to be, what seed they're going to be, and I have been put in check by someone who I was speaking to regarding the Michigan State program in the sense of don't get too excited. There's a lot of work to do before tournament time, but definitely I do believe that Michigan State, with the defense they have and the offense they have, they can and will do very, very well. As of last week, we'll see what happens on Monday, but this is last week's poll. The University of Virginia under former Washington State assistant Tony Bennett, 23-2. Michigan State University was 24-3. At number 3, we had Villanova, followed by Xavier. Cincinnati, the Bearcats, I know they lost this week to Houston, so they're going to be dropping in the polls. Number 6, Purdue, at the time, did lose, so I expect them to drop. Then we find number 7, as of last week, Texas Tech. Ohio State University, they were at number 8. And, of course, number 9, the Bulldogs of Gonzaga out of the West Coast Conference. Number 10, Auburn. Number 11, Clemson. And the suddenly struggling Duke Blue Devils lost 3 out of the last 4. Marvin Bagley, the third, apparently not getting the job done at Duke. We're at number 12 last week. Kansas at number 13. The always formidable UNC team, the Tar Heels, at 14. Then we see the Gales of St. Mary's, who I mentioned earlier, at number 15. The University of Rhode Island, they've won like 16 in a row. They're 20-3. They won a couple of games this week. Arizona over Arizona State this week. So they're at least 21-6. Not sure how they're going to do in today's action, but we will find out. Number 18, Tennessee. Number 19, Wichita State. West Virginia University, a very formidable team. Texas A&M, they hung a loss on the Gauchos of UC Santa Barbara early in the year. The Gauchos actually got blown out in that game. So that loss doesn't necessarily look too bad for the Big West mid-major. At number 22, we had Michigan this week. Number 23, Oklahoma. Trae Young seems to be learning, going through some growing pains, although he's assisted or scored on like 70% of Oklahoma's baskets this year. Then, of course, we have the Nevada Wolfpack at number 24. And number 25, rounding out the poll, Arizona State. Others to receive votes would have been New Mexico State, Florida, Creighton, Butler, Virginia Tech, Middle Tennessee State, Alabama, Houston, Nebraska, Missouri, Miami, Florida, TCU, Kentucky, East Tennessee State, the mid-major that I mentioned in the collegeinsider.com poll, the Oklahoma State Cowboys, St. Bonaventure, Louisville got a couple of votes, Florida State got one, and the Catamounts of Vermont got one as well. So that rounds out the both polls. The mid-major poll, collegeinsider.com, comes out weekly. We'll be talking about that and looking at that more next week. I also wanted to just cover, now that we are in the position of looking at the standings for both the Eastern and the Western Conference for the NBA during All-Star Week. All-Star Game, 5 p.m. tomorrow. But tonight, over the Turner Network television in the United States, so check your local listings, cable and satellite, if you want to watch the action from Los Angeles, the skills competition, the three-point shooting, the skills competition, the slam dunk contest. That's always a joy. It's actually more enjoyable in certain cases than the game. But I wanted to go over the Eastern Conference standings from this week. We found the Toronto Raptors 2 games up on the Boston Celtics in the number 2 slot. As far as the qualifying, the first 8 teams record-wise are going to be in the playoffs, and we're going to have quite a run over the next 25 to 30 games to the playoffs. The Raptors 41-16, the Celtics 40-19 with Kyrie Irving. They're 2 games behind the Raptors for playoff spot seeding number 1. Then, of course, the revamped Cleveland Cavaliers. I didn't really comment on this until now, but I'm going to do it. I believe that Kobe Altman did a good job, at least if LeBron James does leave for the greener pastures, which he very well may do. He has declared that he wants to be the first $1 billion player, so he's going to do the best he can, having brought Cleveland a championship a couple seasons ago now. It seems like based on what he has and what he didn't necessarily have before the trade, Larry Nance Jr. and Jordan Clarkson going over from the Lakers, among others, to revamp that team. They are 6.5 games out of first behind the Raptors, 34-22 overall. Then, of course, we have the very, very much struggling Washington Wizards in slot number 4. The issue with the Wizards is not only is the highest paid player on the Wizards, John Wall, out with a knee injury, there seems to be some friction in that locker room, and I don't know how you fix that. I'm not sure Bradley Beal will be able to step in and take the scoring load from the Wizards. But the Wizards are at number 4, and remember the top 4 teams, which are the Raptors, the Celtics, the Cavaliers, and the Wizards, they would have a first-round home court advantage if the playoffs started today, which they don't, but they're in the top 4 right now. Then Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks, they're 8.5 games out of first place right now in the number 5 position. In the number 6 position, we have the Indiana Pacers. And, of course, at number 7, a very intriguing team, the Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. These guys, if they ever get it together on the defensive side of the ball and can learn to win in crunch time, they are going to be formidable. Right now, they're in position number 7, and apparently they did and continue to trust the process, as one of their general managers said they had to do after very recent, couple years ago, a 9-10 win season. The Miami Heat in the number 8 slot right now. So how it would go is 1 plays 8. So it would be the Raptors and the Heat, the Celtics and the 76ers. Cleveland would be playing the Indiana Pacers in the first round. And then, of course, the Wizards and the Bucks would face off in that order as far as playoff seedings go. We do have the Charlotte Hornets in 10th slot, the Pistons, a very intriguing team based on the Blake Griffin trade. Andre Drummond, of course, a great player, but he definitely does need some help. We do see that the Pistons are in the number 9 slot, game and a half out of the 8th slot against the Heat. So that could be a battle. That we have the Hornets, the Knicks minus Porzingis, the Chicago Bulls, the New York Nets, the Orlando Magic, and the Atlanta Hawks at 15. As far as the Western Conference, we're going to get to that here in just a moment. The intriguing issue with the Rockets is Mike D'Antoni's team is 44-13, just a half game in front of the number 2 seed Warriors right now. That's going to be a battle. I'm sorry, not the Warriors, but the Rockets, one of the most prolific three-point shooting teams. And with Mike D'Antoni's high-octane offense, we'll see how James Harden and Chris Paul continue to operate. They're doing great. They're doing great as teammates, but it's not playoff time right now. So at the All-Star break, we find the Rockets a half game ahead of the Warriors. In number 3 slot, the always formidable Spurs. Now they're 9.5 games behind the Warriors with a 35-24 record. They have lost 3 in a row when these standings were printed. The Minnesota Timberwolves, 35-25. I have these guys as a dark horse. Believe they're going to have a great season. And what do you know? They're at number 4. Predicted they would have a great season with Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and company, and Jimmy Butler actually doing a lot of damage in the Western Conference. They're currently at number 4. Would have home court advantage in the first round. Number 5, we have the Thunder, led by Russell Westbrook, of course. They are a game and a half out of the 4th slot right now. Then, of course, at number 6, 32-26, 6 games over 500, the Portland Trailblazers. The 7th slot is occupied by the Denver Nuggets. And the 8th slot, there's going to be a battle. The Clippers are 30-26 in slot number 9 right now. Slot number 8 is held by a half game by the New Orleans Pelicans. At number 10, Devin Mitchell, probably going to be Rookie of the Year. They're 30-28 minus Gordon Hayward and Joe Johnson. They're a game behind the Clippers and a game and a half out of the 8th slot. So look for them to do well. Then, of course, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Kings, the Mavericks, and the Suns in that order, ladies and gentlemen. So that pretty much wraps up the podcast for today. I'm going to come back probably next week, maybe Monday. We'll review the All-Star game. We'll talk about some more stuff, maybe some more baseball-related things, and what is going to be a great season. Looking forward to it. For AccessMediaGlobal.com, I'm Mark Janish. Thanks for viewing on YouTube as well, and also on Twitter. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. Enjoy Gaucho baseball. Enjoy Gaucho basketball this afternoon over AccessMediaGlobal.com. Until next week, I'm Mark Janish, wishing you a very pleasant good day. And before I go, I want to say a word regarding the public school shooting in Broward County, Florida. Coral Gables, about an hour north of Miami, in Parkland, Florida. Want to just have a moment of silent prayer for them right now. Would ask that prayers and thoughts be sent out to those affected by this tragedy, traumatized and altered permanently by another deranged 19-year-old shooter. And unfortunately, 17 lives were lost, 12 have been injured. There are still a couple of people hospitalized, apparently in critical condition. So we're going to go ahead and just have a moment of silent prayer to sign this thing off today. You can join me on Stitcher and Libsyn in the meantime. So we're going to go ahead and just have a moment of silent prayer for those affected by the Florida shootings. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the time that you've taken to listen to the podcast. For more information, you can go to accessmediaglobal.com, go to the Contact Me page if you'd like to leave me a note. I hope you enjoy it. I enjoy doing it, and if you weren't here, then I wouldn't be. You have a great day, and may God richly bless you. Thank you.